This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Giduyuat. It's Monday, September 30th. This is Africa 54. Twin attacks in Somalia target a U.S. base in Baledogle and an Italian military convoy in Mogadishu. An American charity in Liberia reopens following a sex abuse scandal. And we'll have a report on President Trump's impeachment inquiry. We begin our broadcast tonight in East Africa, where a U.S. Special Forces base was attacked Monday in the Lower Shabelle region of Somalia. The assault mounted by Somali insurgents was the most ambitious attack yet on the military facility. In a separate attack, an Italian military convoy was hit by a blast in the Somali capital. Francesca Lina reports.
An Italian military convoy and a U.S. military base were hit in separate attacks in Somalia on Monday. Italy's defense ministry said one of their convoys was hit by an explosion in Mogadishu, crumpling a roadside building and leaving vehicle wreckage on the ground. The ministry said no injuries had been reported. A security source told Reuters that there was a bomb attack followed by gunfire at Baledogle base, 60 miles from the capital. A police officer told Reuters that 2 suicide car bombs intended to damage Baledogle airport detonated outside the airport gate. The base is where U.S. Special Forces train Somali commandos and from where many drone operations are launched. The al-Qaeda-linked insurgent group al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack.
Reuters' Francesca Lina with that report. Now to an American charity school in Liberia, where students almost lost their institution to a notorious sex abuse scandal, forcing the academy to close. Then a new Liberian-run organization was formed to reopen the school. In a report supported by the Pulitzer Center from Monrovia, Monique John follows one student on her first day back in class.
Gift Esfala of West Point Township in Monrovia says she couldn't wait to get back to school.
My teachers there are very good. You know, they are always willing to listen to us, willing to sacrifice for us, and there we get the best education from them.
But last year, the 16-year-old dreaded going to class. Her school, More Than Me Academy, or MTM, was making international headlines for disturbing incidents of sexual molestation of students allegedly perpetrated by one of its founders. Macintosh Johnson, a Liberian administrator at the school, had been arrested and charged with abusing students as young as 11. And ironically, in a previous appearance, seemed to express his concern for abused girls.
These girls who have been abused morally, sexually, physically, these are the girls that More Than Me works with.
Johnson's case ended in a mistrial. He had AIDS when he later died in police custody while waiting for a retrial. Gift says she was never abused by anyone at the school. Still, she, like many of her classmates, was seriously stigmatized because of the scandal.
I can ride with people going to school, so every morning I have to walk to go to school by myself. At home, I don't have visitors. Everyone's like, I have AIDS or HIV since I attend the More Than Me Academy.
More Than Me Academy, located in Monrovia's bustling downtown area, was shut down last June because of its sexual abuse scandal. But since then, a small group of concerned Liberians have reopened the school through their own brand new organization called Hilltop. Hilltop Schools was born out of an auditor's suggestion for a new group of qualified Liberians to carry on MTM's mission. The organization's leaders include past staff members, volunteers, and even some of the school's most active parents.
The vision of Hilltop is that every girl or every student receives a quality education. Every student also is healthy, and students are safe.
An unnamed donor is primarily funding MTM. The school has to pass a series of evaluations in order to receive its payment installments. Much like the parents and administrators who are leading this new venture, Gift tells us she has big goals for the year ahead.
We have a lot of curriculum this year, activities, so I want to be part of everything. This is my last year at More Than Me. So I pray that my your success.
In response to the school's past incidents of abuse, safeguards and protections are being put in place. Background checks of the staff are ongoing. Monique John for VOA News, Monrovia.
New York has been a beehive of activity this past week where world leaders gathered for the 74th Annual United Nations General Assembly. Leaders discussed climate change and the need to reduce carbon emissions, among other issues. For highlights from Africa, let's go over to New York now, where VOA UN correspondent Margaret Bashir is standing by. Hello, Margaret.
Hi, Esther. We're winding down after a busy week.
Yeah, sure. So wrap it up for us.
Today is the last day. Today is the last day of the annual debate. As you said, climate change a really big priority here all last week. You know, when you think of Africa about great challenges, often it's conflicts or terrorism, but Africa is really on the front lines of global warming in terms of feeling the effects of it. So leaders, African leaders, one after the other, took the podium here over the last 10 days or so, and they all expressed concern about it, about the weather impacts that are affecting Africa, the droughts, the floods, the cyclones that we've seen, and they've asked for financial assistance in combating the effects of climate change, because Africa is one of the lower contributors to greenhouse gas emissions on the planet as a whole, but they're one of the areas that's feeling it the most. So they're asking for financial assistance primarily in building more resilient communities to deal with global warming.
So, Margaret, I know this past weekend there was also a high-level meeting about Sudan. Sudan making a big kind of positive change with a new political development, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say Sudan was one of the highlights of the week. In fact, the Secretary General said it was his highlight, his personal highlight of the whole high-level week, that he didn't imagine that we would be at this point, at this moment in time in Sudan, after all the protests, that it would end so positively, and that with the transition underway. So Prime Minister Hamdok was here last week, and he asked the U.S. to take Sudan off the state sponsors of terrorism list. He also asked for a lifting of economic sanctions. He said it's really important for everything that Sudan does that it's off the terrorism list and that its sanctions are lifted, because the economy is in very poor condition. And also they need to start building state institutions, so they need assistance with that. So there was a lot of talk about that on Sudan.
Margaret, thank you so much for your great reporting throughout last week and wrapping it up for us today.
Thanks, Esther. Always a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. That is VOA UN correspondent Margaret Bashir reporting live from the United Nations. Now, there's an ongoing debate in Rwanda over the authenticity of poverty statistics. The government says poverty has dropped dramatically, but people who are actually destitute and their advocates are skeptical. Injin Oemana explains.
79-year-old Rwandan Ananias Mnyarubuga, who lost his legs in a motorcycle accident, lives in utter poverty.
I can even spend more than 3 days without eating, waiting until someone brings me some food.
Mnyarubuga still hopes for government assistance, but cannot get the help he needs.
The authorities have told me that to get a house I need to have a plot of land, but I don't have land and I cannot get it. I'm asking the government to build me a house so I can at least have shelter for my remaining days on Earth.
The Rwandan government says extreme poverty in the country dropped dramatically by 2017 to 34% of the population, compared to over 60% in 2007. But the Financial Times reports the government has manipulated the poverty statistics, allegedly to prop up Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. Kagame has dismissed the report.
And I think it originates from also the stereotypes, the prejudice that is always out there. It's as if Africans can't do fine. Africans have to be doing things that must be validated by others somewhere. But we don't need any validation. We want to do things that benefit us.
World Bank economist Agassi Machian acknowledged that Rwanda has made great strides since the 1994 genocide.
For the last 2 decades, the average growth rate was about 7%, and it was quite broad-based. So we see traditional sectors in Rwanda, like agriculture and others, growing at quite a strong pace. But also Rwanda has seen emergence of new sectors.
But Matian and others say the country still has a long way to go.
Poverty reduction was relatively small between 2014 and 17. And as you recall, those were difficult years for Rwanda. Rwanda suffered enormous droughts in 2015 and 16. There was also a slowdown in growth in 2015 and 16.
An estimated 40% of Rwandans live on less than $2 a day. Eugene Uimana for VOA News, Muhanga, Southern Rwanda.
Uganda's Faith Aweko describes herself as a wastepreneur. She has developed an innovative way to transform discarded plastic bags into backpacks for everyday use. Halima Thumani has her story.
Faith Aweko has no problem picking up waste. She had to do it all the time as a child when rainwater and trash would flood her home, located in a slum in a low-lying part of Kampala. Now she works with women who are hired to collect and wash plastic bags in the Mpigi district of southern Uganda. The bags are then transformed into durable, sustainable, waterproof and beautiful bags. Aweko and her colleagues through the Reform Africa project wanted to do something with the plastic bags that litter streets across Uganda, fouling the environment.
They are collecting plastic bottles all around, but the polythene bags are really being left, yet they are the most dangerous into the environment. And you find them poorly disposed. Some people even burn them, others dump it in their gardens, which doesn't lead into good agricultural production.
In Uganda, the most popular imported polythene bag is a 30 microns polythene. Research has shown that it will take 1,000 years for each bag to decompose. Aweko's idea was to compress bags together using an iron, then stitch the material into backpacks.
We iron this, we have to compile 15 plastic bags of these ones to come up with a strong backpack. Because we have designs, our customers need design on it, we cannot iron it as plain as it is. So we have to get these Lato milk boveras, other plastic small bags to really add in the creativity so that it looks very strong.
Rachel Mema, a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, is working with Reform Africa. When she lived in one of Uganda's refugee settlements, Mema says there was a lot of plastic trash which bred mosquitoes, leading to disease outbreaks.
So those solution is something that is not just for urban people, but also those people out there who really need to have something like that, and eco-friendly, because it's an action toward our health right now, who is suffering from plastic.
As world leaders set new agendas to fight climate change and save the environment, Shamim and others at Reform Africa urge them not only to look at the revenue they generate from plastic bags, but to be more conscious about the Earth's future and take action now. Halima Asmani for VOA News, Mpigi, Uganda.
Zimbabwe's founding leader, Robert Mugabe, was laid to rest Saturday in his home village of Kutama. The burial ended a dispute between Mugabe's family and the government of his successor, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, over his final resting place. Emma McCarthy has more.
3 weeks after his death, the founding father of Zimbabwe finally laid to rest. Robert Mugabe was buried in his home village of Kutama on Saturday, ending a dispute between his family and the government of Emmerson Mnangagwa over his final resting place. A polarising figure in global politics, Mugabe led Zimbabwe for 37 years, idolised by some for his role in the country's liberation, hated by others for ruining a promising nation through disastrous economic policies and repression of his opponents. Following Mass said by a Catholic priest and speeches by family members, Mugabe was buried in the courtyard of his rural homestead. His wife Grace, shrouded in a black veil, watching on. He died in a Singapore hospital on September 6, aged 95. Family members say he was bitter at the way former allies conspired to topple him in November 2017 and told his family he did not want his tormentors to preside over his burial.
I am Shaka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Shiblaze Awa, a 17-year-old teenager from Cameroon's northwest English-speaking region, is showcasing the toys that he built in the streets of Douala. He left his hometown of Bamenda to escape violence, continue his education, and also build his toy creations in peace. It takes him 1 week to 2 months to finish a project, depending on the availability of materials gathered from garbage bins. An insurgency erupted in Cameroon late in 2017, following a government crackdown on peaceful protests in the Anglophone Northwest and Southwest regions, leaving about 500,000 people displaced. Next up, the Australian city of Canberra is testing a fleet of driverless cars to help some of the city's older residents stay mobile. Academics say for residents in suburban areas, being unable to drive can be a major social impediment. The driverless car is fitted with cameras to detect eye and face movement. It can tell if the driver is fatigued or distracted, and if the driver pulls a little lever, he or she can drive without touching the wheel at all. And finally, top gymnasts may have new competition on the floor, in the form of a robot called Atlas. U.S.-based engineering and robotics firm Boston Dynamics says its humanoid creation uses its legs, arms, and torso to complete a number of gymnastics moves that mirror a normal athlete's routine. Atlas achieves its feats thanks to its lightweight 3D printed parts, which give it the necessary strength-to-weight ratio to move with agility and precision. And that's what's trending today.
As congressional Democrats move forward with steps toward the impeachment of U.S. President Donald Trump, politicians in Washington are trading allegations over Trump's dealings with Ukraine and the business activities of Hunter Biden, the son of leading Democratic presidential contender Joe Biden. As VOA Michael Sullivan reports, the rhetoric is getting heated.
A complaint from a whistleblower, an employee of the U.S. intelligence community who claims an urgent concern about the president's actions in Trump's phone conversation in July and other administration contacts with Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine. Trump asking for a renewed investigation into the business dealings of Biden's son, Hunter, and into Joe Biden's role in getting a former Ukrainian prosecutor fired. A key Democrat says the complaint outlines a scheme to give military assistance in exchange for information.
The Ukrainian people and their president are not stupid, and neither are the American people. And they can see and understand and appreciate a shakedown when they see it going on, and that's exactly what this was.
Trump says there was no linkage to U.S. aid and calls the investigation yet another witch hunt. The White House has released a transcript that confirms that Trump mentioned Biden and his son, in which Trump questioned whether Biden used his influence to stop an investigation by the Ukrainian prosecutor. Trump has defended the conversation.
My call was perfect. The president yesterday of Ukraine said there was no pressure put on him whatsoever, none whatsoever.
Likely to be called by the committee to testify, Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who has held multiple meetings with Ukrainian officials. He questions the motives of the Democratic chair of the Intelligence Committee, but says he'll follow the guidance of the president.
Thank you very much, Mr. If he decides that he wants me to testify, of course I'll testify, even though I think Adam Schiff is an illegitimate chairman. He has already prejudged the case. If we want fairness here, we've got to put somebody in charge of that committee who has an open mind.
Trump is the fourth president to face an impeachment inquiry. Conviction in both houses of Congress is unlikely, since Republicans hold a majority in the Senate, but the hearings could influence the 2020 presidential election. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
Trump is now only the fourth U.S. president to become the subject of an impeachment inquiry, the U.S. constitutional process whereby Congress may remove a president from office. History shows that the politics of impeachment are complicated and risky, and the eventual outcome and fallout are often hard to predict. Here's VOA national correspondent Jim Malone.
Donald Trump is now fully engaged in a battle to save his presidency.
What these guys are doing, Democrats are doing to this country, is a disgrace, and it shouldn't be allowed. There should be a way of stopping it, maybe legally through the courts.
Trump is rejecting a charge from Democrats that he abused the powers of his office by seeking Ukraine's help to find damaging information about one of his Democratic rivals, former Vice President Joe Biden. Democrats point to a whistleblower complaint that detailed Trump's attempt to get help from Ukraine and alleged White House efforts to cover it up. Democrat Adam Schiff chairs the House Intelligence Committee.
And if, as alleged, as this record of call already indicates, the president was, instead of faithfully executing his office, was using that office as leverage to obtain dirt, have another country manufacture dirt on his opponent, it is hard to imagine a more fundamental abuse of that office.
For the most part, Republicans continue to back the president, including Senator Lindsey Graham.
I think people will find this to be overreach. I think people will believe this is just revenge.
The political impact of an impeachment battle during a presidential election campaign is hard to predict, especially on some of the president's supporters, says analyst William Howell.
Then going to rally behind the president. That's certainly what Trump is banking on. He's going to do everything he can to elicit that kind of response by members of his own party.
Democrats may also be mindful of what happened with the impeachment of President Bill Clinton in 1998.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Clinton lied about and tried to cover up his affair with intern Monica Lewinsky, which led to his impeachment by the House.
The yeas are 44, the nays are 56. The motion is not agreed to.
Clinton remained in office after he was acquitted in a trial in the Senate, and Republicans lost congressional seats in the 1998 elections in the resulting political backlash, says Larry Sabato.
Given the fact that the Republicans took a wounded Bill Clinton and made him almost invulnerable for the rest of his term, should serve as a warning to Democrats.
In 1974, Congress began impeachment proceedings against President Richard Nixon over the Watergate scandal.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Nixon left office when it became clear that he would likely not survive an impeachment trial in the Senate. What comes next for President Trump is uncertain, but both sides appear to be preparing for a long and divisive political battle with an uncertain outcome. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
It's time for Monday Sports Report, and joining us now is Sunday Shomari. Hello, Sunday.
Hello, Esther.
What's making news in sports today?
Sure. Over the weekend, Esther, Jamaica's Shirley Ann Fraser-Price made history and further stacked her claim as one of the greatest female sprinters of all time by powering her way to victory in the women's 100-meter final at the World Championships in Doha, Qatar. She became the first person to do so, winning 4 gold medals over the distance and 8th world title overall. The Jamaican blew away a world-class field in a time of 10.71 seconds. And Sunday's victory came just 13 months after Fraser-Price gave birth to her first son, Zion. She was followed by Britain's Dina Asher-Smith in 10.83 seconds, and Ivory Coast's Marie-Josée Talou grabbed the bronze medal with a time of 10.90 seconds. And Kenya's Ruth Chepngetich clinched a gold medal on Saturday with a time of 2 hours, 32 minutes and 43 seconds, the slowest time to ever win the championship in a race that saw nearly 1/3 of the 70 starters fail to reach the finish line. Defending world champion Rose Chelimo settled for silver, crossing the line more than a minute later with a time of 2 hours, 33 minutes and 46 seconds. Commonwealth champion Namibia's Hela Ila Johannes took bronze, clocking a time of 2 hours, 34 minutes and 15 seconds. And now, Rugby World Cup. England trained in Tokyo on Monday under their head coach Eddie Jones as his men prepare for their Rugby World Cup encounter against Argentina on Saturday. England has 2 wins so far in the competition, which they won back in 2003. They claimed their second World Cup win against the USA on Thursday after winning against Minnows Tonga as well. And all 31 players were able to train on Monday with prop Marco Vunipola and winger Jack Noel returning from injury. So according to the coach, Neil Hackley, all the players have recharged and the whole squad is fit and ready to go. Other results today, Scotland mauled Samoa 34-0, and on Saturday, South Africa beat their brothers from another mother, Namibia, 57-3. And that wraps our sports segment. Esther, back to you.
A lot of energy on Monday, Sunday. You are recharged too. Thank you, Sunday. Thank you so much. Be sure to join Sunday Shomari next Monday for another sports report right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a good evening.